Hello, my zesty people. Good morning and good afternoon, depending where you're at. If you're enjoying your coffee, or whatever you're enjoying right now, lunch. Today we're going to be covering Next.js and using cookies. So we had one from last week. Let me turn this sound down a little bit. We covered one from last week, or it was about a week and a half ago. We talked about UTM and cookies. Since then, we produced a really nice, simple article. I'm going to post this in chat. And we're going to use this article as the example of working with cookies and just to dig a little bit deeper with more of a focus. So we'll use this article as the guideline, and we're also using the Zesty example that we have on GitHub, which I'll also post in chat. I'll also put it in the description as well. And this is a Next.js application that we have running. So that's what we'll be working in today. So we already have a Next.js running. It's already connected to a Zesty site. For this example, you don't need to use Zesty. This is purely about just using cookies and getting familiar with the idea and concept of cookies to change the presentation. So let's begin. So in the first part of this, we're just going to talk about what cookies are. So cookies are small data storage objects, and they live inside the DOM. And they're related to your browsing session. So if you're viewing something with, say, Google Chrome on your desktop and you go to a website, they may store a cookie that's relative to you and your browsing session for that website. If you're on the same computer and you open up Firefox or Safari and you go to that same website, those cookies aren't connected. So it's connected, it's specific to your browser and your connection to that website. It doesn't work across your devices. Or not even just devices, but even different browsers in a single device. So that's important to note. So when you're using cookies, think about in that context is that it's for that specific user experience on that device, on that browser. Now, it's still good to use personalization because if they were to come back on that device in that browser, you would still have information about them stored in that cookie. If they, for example, were to open up their phone and then visit your website from their phone, that information wouldn't be there. So it's important to note when you're using cookies is that is the difference there, is that you can't rely on them as persistent storage objects. They're only related to the individual's specific browsing time. So let's just get into how we use them. So we're using Next.js with the JavaScript front end, and we're going to include this cookie package, and we'll walk just right through here. So you can follow along with this tutorial. You can watch how we go, and we'll kind of talk through the different aspects of it. So here we go. So we have our code base open here. We're going to end up making a new page for our example, and we'll make a copy of a page to show the example off. And then we also have our terminal running. So I'm inside and I'm going to npm run dev to get my server started. And we're going to get the web page loaded. So it'll just be localhost 3000, and this should load our web page. We have not the prettiest, let's see, we can't resolve cookies next. Perfect, because we're about to use cookies. So to resolve that error, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to npm install the cookies package. Clear this. And I'm going to just copy this line straight up, paste it, and run it. So this is installing a JavaScript node module into our system, and we're also just going to run an npm I because last time I was working on this specific build, it was on another computer. So we got that going, and then we go npm get our server back started, npm run dev, and let's check our localhost now. Okay, we're running, and we're back to this home page that we should probably spend one of these next tutorials on using Material UI to make the design look a lot better than this specific output. But it's showing that our client is running and it's responding, which is great. So we're going to make a new page, and we'll just call it new file. We'll just call this cookie test.js. And then we just need to export. We're going to import React here. And then we're going to export a default function, which is our component. And we're going to call this cookie test. And we'll just return a div for now with cookie test just to confirm that our page is loading. So now if I go into my browser to my local host and type cookie test, yeah, and you can see I'm now loading my cookie test here. So I'm hitting this, I could type hello world. This should hot reload for me, and you can see I got hello world. Awesome. So we have cookies now installed in our Next.js app. We're going to look at this very first part of how to set a cookie. So what you need to do is import the cookie package we just made, which is here. I'll get rid of that comment. And we're grabbing, there's two options in this cookie package. There's set cookie and get cookie. We're going to be using set cookie in this example. And here, this goes through, I guess we could just use this exact item, but the other thing you're going to need from React is useEffect. So useEffect is a function that runs after the DOM renders, after every render. So we're going to run useEffect here, and this will be writing JavaScript to talk to the client side. So we're just going to copy this example here for this useEffect, paste it right in. And we're naming our cookie sort. And we don't really need any JSX, special JSX here, so we can hit save. Another way to test cookies once they're run, looks like it's not happy with that. Let's see. So it was setting a sort default filter, which was looking for this variable, which we don't need, but we'll just paste it there. We could just write a direct string in here, but we'll just use that variable reference for now. So variable reference, it's a string, which is DESC, which stands for descending, when we're storing to a cookie named sort. So we're going to hit save here, page re-renders, and we can inspect the DOM to see what the cookies are on it. We need to get into network for this and just give it a refresh. And look at your top, which is cookie test. That's going to be the path of what you're looking at. And you're going to be looking at the response, the headers, the response headers. I believe, let's see where we can find cookies hiding in here somewhere. There's actually a tab for cookies right there. Looks like my tab isn't really showing me very well what's happening. Not sure why that is. It doesn't look like it's liking me there. Let's give it another refresh and see. Show request with this cookie. I don't know why we can't see that well. Let's see, we can change. Maybe we can pop it out. Let's see what happens if it pops out. Let's see if this will show it better. Refresh. Cookie tests. No, for some reason it doesn't want to show my cookies. So we can actually use a this is a little weird, but you can go get a cookie extension, and that's what I'm going to open this up in. It is in a cookie extension, so we can look at our cookies. I'm going to use it in my non-incognito browser because I have a cookie extension installed. And I'm going to click the cookie button, and I'm going to look for a cookie called sort. And here it is, and descending. So I was going incognito, so I didn't have any other localhost cookies stored, and I do, but this still shows that I have localhost. I'm running my localhost, and the cookie I'm showing right now is sort. Right here. That's descending. So now if I was to change this value, this string value, to hello world, and refresh this page, I'm going to get a cookie value of hello world now. So we're successfully telling the browser to write a value to a cookie. So that we're storing data that we'll be able to access somewhere else in the website when they click around or when the user comes back. So that is how you set a cookie. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do how you get a cookie, how you access the cookie on the page. And for this example, we're going to use the same exact example that we're looking at. And we're going to import get cookie along with set cookie. These are the two methods available in this cookie next package. And we are going to use state here to store the cookie to state. So we're also going to use state from React. State is a way to store values inside your component. And we'll just go ahead and we'll stick really close to the tutorial. That way this can be referenced later, and you can look at the code base and reference it directly on the code base. So we're going to change our default back to descending, and we're going to add sort filter to it. And this is what this code looks like. And then in the use effect, we're going to run the get cookie check here. And we're writing cookie value, and instead of and then we're going to set the sort filter of our state to the cookie value. So what we're doing here is in the use effect, we're going to now access the cookie. We're going to see if the cookie sort's there. And this is saying that if the cookie sort exists, grab the sort cookie reference. Otherwise, run to our default. So this is a nice little trick when you're writing the cookie. The first time the user comes, if the cookie isn't available and you want to default to a specific value, this is a good way to use a default. So now in our output down here in our render, we can now say, since we have this state called sort filter, we're just going to output this here and make a note. Current cookie sort value. Save. And you can see now with the DOM, I'm outputting the value of the cookie, which is descending, which is great. So that's how you access it. We could also say, I believe, like if the cookie's already set, I believe we can access it this way too. Let's see, it may have to happen through use effect, but just say let c equals get cookie sort, and let's see if we can output c here. Yeah, we can. So you can use it in both methods. So you see it outputs descending twice. So how do we use the cookie value to change the DOM? That's going to be the next thing we cover. Let me pull up the tutorial and get down. So using cookies to personalize the page. And this is what I mean. So when changing the DOM, this is when it's of value. In this example, we're actually setting up a select value to change the give a figurative table, like if it's going to sort descending or descending. So we'll just keep and stick to this. So for this particular part, we're still going to be using get cookie and set cookie. And we're still going to be using our state to store the filter. But we're going to be adding a handle change function, which we're going to connect to a dropdown. So let's get that in the mix. So we're not going to use this reference anymore here. So we're going to go ahead and move our handle change function in, which is going to be connected to a dropdown. And we're going to create that dropdown in the DOM right here. So this dropdown is a select. It's just a vanilla select, and we're adding an on change, and we're passing it the handle change method, which are our function, which we just created up here. Hit save, and let's take a look at what's outputting. You now see this really small. Let me pump it up a little bit. This drop-down box, and it's going to handle change. So what handle change is now doing is it's setting the sort value to the target value of the dropdown. And if you see in my dropdown, I have a value of ascending and descending. And my sort filter, set sort filter, which we have this method here, is going to write that to our state. And we're also going to write it and update our cookie. So as this changes, we're going to tell the DOM or the browser to update the cookie as well. So our use effect now does not need to be as complicated. See what the example is showing here. It's just setting sort filter to get cookie sort. So we can just cut this down. I mean, we pretty much can use this default here, just like this. So let's see what happens. Notice how, see the values written here, and as I change between them, the value is updating in real time. And if I go into the other one and let's refresh, and let's check my cookie. So my cookie is descending. I can check to verify that. It is descending, and if we switch descending to ascending to get it ascending, is that going to update my cookie in real time? It does. So you can see the cookie updating the value. So that means when you come back to the website, you'll have the default value as ascending. So this is good for, again, personalization. If you were to store a marketing value like show basketball articles versus showing football articles, you could store the word football or store the word basketball for like user preferences. It's really good for the experience. You can also store other things like there's authentication can be stored in cookies and other goodies like that. So Giselle has a question I just caught. Can cookies be used on a Zesty pages to customize the content output? Absolutely. So in Next.js, in the context of Next.js, you can choose to show specific content based upon the cookie that's showing, and we'll walk through how that's done. So basically, if I know my sort filter is changing from the word ascending to descending, I can use in JSX, I'm going to use some logic, and I can say sort filter, if I say equals equals and I want descending, and then I could say ampersand to if this is true, I'll also do this, and I'm gonna we'll just drop an H1 out and be like, we are descending. I sound like a pilot. Okay, so currently we're ascending, but if we move to descending, all of a sudden now we get this new output, and that technically is personalizing the page. So when we're ascending, there's no output like that. When we're descending, we're getting it. And on the flip side, we can, change this to an H3. We are ascending, and change that. So now we're descending, we are ascending, and you can see I changed the header tag type. It goes from a header 3 to a header 1, right? So we're even changing, say, the design. There's no limit to how you can modify the page based upon this value. And that doesn't go just beyond, like, say, statically typed things like this. Say static, I mean, this is a dynamic page now, but as in this is fixed. You could use this cookie value to fetch. You could use it to throw into JSON data. You can use it to determine what type of content you get from a CMS like Zesty. So it's a great way to use cookies. Like every website you go to practically these days is definitely storing cookies on you one way or another. Most of them are for tracking. But for personalization stuff, it's nice to come back. Like if I was to leave this, I'm leaving this in the ascending mode, right? I leave this. I come back later to my page, and I'm still ascending. And I feel like I want to be descending, and I leave my page, and I come back a day later. And I'm descending. So cookies are awesome. Definitely take advantage of them. It'll very much improve your user experience, and you can do a lot of cool things with them for marketing. So that concludes the live stream for today. So be sure to smash that like button. Check it out for the next live stream. The next one we have coming up is going to be on Thursday, and let's just peek to see what we're going to be streaming on Thursday. why YouTube's interface is always so funky. Let's see, go live. All right, what we have coming on Thursdays is how to leverage Git flows for headless development. So we'll be discussing for our team, we like to use, say, stage and production, and also individual branches for contributing new feature sets or different projects. So we're going to be discussing, it's going to be more of a lecture style where we go through a slide deck and we talk about Git workflows and how you can adapt them to your team for development. So take care, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on Thursday at 9:15 PT. Take care.